Yeah, let's just dive right in.
All right, so as you can see, Nystrik has managed to get a background properly, and yet I do not have that, unfortunately. So we're sort of still making things happen the old-fashioned way. You can take a look at my lovely room behind me. I don't know why people like to see what streamer rooms look like, but there you go. It's been a pretty interesting couple of weeks in Eve. Like we've had, the last show we did, things in Fountain were starting to heat up, and not really though. I was busy saying that NC Dot was poking at Fountain, but nothing had really happened. And then, sure enough, right after I said that on our show, then all of a sudden everything got real. People got very excited. We had a lot of engagements down there. There's a Russian war happening that's starting off in Geminate.
Yes.
Regions are falling all across the east, starting to fall, namely Innsmother, Wicked Creek, Scalding Pass. And then, of course, there's this huge battle with PL and Brave just the other day.
Yeah, that was really interesting to... Unfortunately, I'm still not subbed, so I didn't get to go participate, which made me sad. But,
And we, in the CFC, accidentally killed a Titan by using incorrect spy intel, and then had to sort of claw it back and apologize an awful lot because we had loudly and publicly killed an innocent, which was not the wisest of things on our part. But yeah, so it's been a very interesting couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I don't know if you want to talk at all specifically about what happened with the spy. Everyone wants everyone to talk about it on the Meta Show. I got like 4 or 5 tweets of you have to talk about it on the Meta Show. Boy. So let's talk about it on the Meta Show.
Okay, we'll go ahead.
So there was a fleet going on. CFC and BL were engaged in fighting. Laz, the CFC FC, calls a primary, and then subsequently a pilot on the CFC keys in and says Rex on whoever was just called as primary.
Right, exactly.
And immediately everyone thought he keyed into the wrong comms, he must be a spy.
Amateur hour spy mistake, yeah, exactly.
To be fair, if that chain of events were to happen, I think in any fleet, the first thought would be he keyed into the wrong comms, he must be a spy. However, obviously you can't just assume someone's a spy, there's got to be some looking into it.
Well, we did that. I mean, we don't really base spy calls off of, people keying up and stuff like that, because that's could be a simple mistake. The issue that we had with this was we had some of our agents on Black Legion comms at the time, and they overheard something, and they thought that this guy's voice sounded like one of the guys in Black Legion. So, when something like this happens, one of the difficulties that you have in the metagame is whenever you do anything in public, regarding getting rid of a spy, be they good, bad, innocent, guilty, then everyone naturally runs off and tries to treat it like a criminal trial in the United States or in a Western nation or something. They want evidence to be presented. They want all these things to be discussed. And we almost never talk about our sources or methods, right? Because saying we heard this person said this or what have you exposes that you have this agent here and timestamps your guys. But it was a really weird situation. So this guy keys up and calls the primary to be repped, is investigated, and based upon the things that our agents online in Black Legion had told us, we thought that we had pretty good evidence of guilt. We went to the leadership of SMA and we said, this is what we have, this is the case, afterwards, and they're like, wow, okay, you guys were really, this is right. And so we thought we had a legitimate kill. So we we dropped everything we had on the guy's Titan. And this is I think sort of a difficulty for us is that we had successfully killed a Titan level agent in the Fountain War, in the start of the Fountain War. We got rid of one of Manfred Sidious's Leviathan pilots, and it was kind of the same reaction as well when that happened. When we made the Manny kill, many months later, it came out that we had been correct. But initially speaking, whenever you do something like this, everybody has to deny, oh, he was an innocent, oh, there's the CFC blowing up their own Titan.
Yeah.
So when that shitstorm kicked off, my reaction was, yeah, sure, guys, he's innocent. Yeah, okay, just like Manny was innocent, no problem at all.
Right. And I mean, obviously, BL is never going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, that was our guy. You got him." So
exactly.
I mean, you know,
like that's how the metagame is played. Like if you destroy an agent, and you actually get an agent, then what you need to do is run around and tell everyone that that guy was innocent and that he's a martyr. And if you join the CFC, you'll be viciously oppressed because they're going to call you a spy and blow you up unfairly. Blah blah blah.
but in this case, it's true.
But in
No,
this
I'm kidding.
case, it is true. See, this is one of the difficulties that we had. Is so a couple days later, and this was like a really kind of I look silly situation. A
Yep.
couple of days later, I've written this war update, right? And in the war update, I have this whole paragraph where I'm talking about how guys, like there's this PR shitstorm and we're totally right. We were right about the Manny thing, we're right about this thing, but in public we're going to get our faces rubbed in the dirt because every time this happens, this is just how the metagame is played.
Yep.
And not more than an hour.
Yep.
An hour after I've written this, like, we're right, don't worry about it. History will prove our truth. Just total, there I am, out on a
With
limb.
your foot in your mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then an hour later, we find evidence from another agent that made our initial evidence look stupid. Basically, there was an alternative explanation from what we had on the inside. I can't go into too many details without revealing all the gory stuff, but the point was we were in the situation where I've stuck my foot in my mouth. We've blown up an allied Titan, an allied FC Titan, right? Like this guy is actually like one of the top leadership. Yeah. Everybody likes the guy, and the reason why everybody likes him is the theory was that he had flipped, that he had turned traitor. He wasn't like an infiltrating agent, but he was a defector. So then we find out that he was actually innocent. We had different intel, that we were wrong. And we had to very publicly do the rounds, make some apologies, eat some crow, give him an avatar to replace it. Yeah. And, we could have, we could have stuck to our guns. We could have tried to cover up the screw up. We could have said, oh, well, we have evidence that you can't see and herf and just try to screw him over to make us look good. But in a situation like this, it was just the right thing to do. I felt horrible about it. Like when I found out that he was actually innocent, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that was a mess. But I'm glad that we were able to make it right, and I'm glad that we were able to just have an avatar on hand to give him. We look like idiots, but at least we look like fair idiots. I guess you'd say. We're at least willing to admit it when we make mistakes and make it right. So
at the end of the day, it seems like a lot of CFC people are very pleased that you were wrong, that the CFC as a whole was wrong. Everyone seemed to be a huge fan of this guy.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's really well liked. It would have been really shitty if he was actually a traitor or defector. This actually, from a strategic perspective, one of the things that, and I'm not sold on this one way or the other. I might still do this. But it does make one consider a cost-benefit analysis in terms of strategy. If you have an agent who is a super capital level spy, and you're pretty sure that the super cap spy is actually a spy, when you blow up one of your own Titans, or when you blow up one of your own supers or one of your allies, there's so much PR blowback, right?
Yep.
And no matter what happens, even if they're guilty, you will always be accused.
Absolutely.
So it's an interesting question. It's only come up twice in my EVE career now. We were right with Manny. We were wrong with Rayanar most recently. But in each case, we ate sort of the same amount of crap in the public eye. And so that's just something for us to think about next time we come across a hypothetical agent Titan. So
yeah, there's always going to be blowback with that. It's like you were saying, there's always going to be people that go, "Oh, well, you blew up your own Titan. It wasn't even really a spy." And everyone's always going to deny if you found a spy, whether it be a Titan spy or a low-level spy. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is. It's always going to be denied. Yeah. So it's really hard to figure out if the other people are really just beating their own chests, or if they're really right about it.
If the guy's actually innocent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we get rid of spies, normally the policy is, if they're just subcap or capital level agents, you just dispose of them quietly. Nobody knows about it. You don't make any accusations about that, because that way they don't get to play the martyr or what have you. It's just a different a different situation when you're dealing with Titans, and that's kind of a thing we have to work on going forward. But yeah, that's definitely the big news in terms of the Mittani and the GIA looking a little silly and having to publicly do the rounds and take ourselves to apology school. So
yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way it happens. So.
It is. So what should we? That was definitely a thing.
I mean, that kind of leads us into supers are dying everywhere.
That's
and
true.
It's exciting as hell.
It is true
because with the launch of Phoebe, there was a lot of, are people really gonna risk their supers? Are they gonna try to hold them close to their chest? And the answer so far seems like it's no. And I mean, we saw this first with PL and Brave mostly. They've been the most active when it comes to, exchanging blows and throwing supers at each other,
right.
Which is awesome. But now it seems like everyone else in space is following suit.
Yeah, it's been a curious thing. I think that the consequence of Phoebe, since it's harder in theory to join a fight that's in progress, and I guess we'll get to that in a moment when we talk about the excitement with PL and Brave. In theory, it's harder to join a conflict in progress, which means that you can use your supers in a local area with a little bit more impunity as long as you have backup. So I think you're starting to see people use them more on a daily basis. As long as there isn't a hostile superior force nearby, they feel comfortable to use them, put them at risk, and as a result, we're seeing the Darwin Awards for supers are coming. Hot
They're
and heavy.
fantastic.
Yeah,
I love them.
It is really good. But one of the things that I think a lot of people have missed about the Phoebe and super situation is that in game balance and in life, anytime it's a relative competition of power, you can nerf an entire class of ships, like capital ships or what have you. But that just increases the power level amongst that nerf population. So, like carriers and dreadnoughts and all these other things were all hit with a 5 light year nerf. And I think that you're starting to see, some people are starting to realize now that super carriers were actually quite powerful before, and even after these nerfs, because nothing really of consequence has happened to them mechanically, just their light year distance and jump fatigue. People are beginning to see in these engagements, like in Head and elsewhere, that super carriers can, in fact, use fighters to easily destroy subcaps. And I think that's something that a lot of people didn't realize, and now we're starting to see some of these engagements.
I mean, it's really exciting to see, and I mean, the fight between PL and Hero in Head Tech, I think it was yesterday, the day before. What's today, the 6th or the 7th? Today's the 6th, so I guess it was yesterday, on the 5th. So quick TLDR, because I know that most people have either read or were part of it, because it was a huge fight. You've got Brave and PL, who have been engaged in fighting for quite a while now, and this was one of their larger fights. So PL and Hero are fighting it out, and a lot of people decided it was time to pile in on different sides, and something that was shocking to me was that Black Legion jumped their supers all the way down to Head Tech. That it took them almost 2 hours to get there, and I don't know if it's a combination of jump fatigue. Like, I don't know which part of it took them longer, either figuring out what they were going to do, or if it was the jump fatigue and jumping through gates that made it take forever, because obviously I don't know what happened with them internally. So I don't know if it was them discussing, hey, is this really what we're going to do? Are we going to do this, and strategically finding their way down there? Or if it was really just, it really took them 2 hours to slow boat their way through gates to get there. But it took them almost 2 hours. There was a call that BL was on their way at 0400 approximately, and they didn't get there until after 0600. So you're looking at almost 2 hours of travel time for BL to land on field.
I think that in a situation like that fight, when you have a bunch of very dedicated tacklers that are going to be able to hold down like the PL fleet that was there, you still have the opportunity for a BR5 style or an Asakai style fight, but that first 2 hours is your window of opportunity, right? Like, if you can drag that out for that long, other people can join in. A similar situation happened. It wasn't actually a big fight like that, but there was this front the last 2 weeks between NCDOT and the N3 entities in Delve going after Fountain. And the CFC at one point brought its super capital group from our base up in Declan all the way down to that. And it took us about an hour to an hour and a half. One of the things that CCP added a while back that I think people missed, they were used mostly on freighters and things like that, is these low slot modules to increase your warp speed. And so now you have the situation where you can travel fit a super with I-stabs and warp speed rigs, warp speed low slots, and you can actually go a lot faster. You still have to worry about bouncing off gates and things like that, but with a strategic bridge hop at some point, like you go halfway and then you jump across a particular sector that saves you a bunch of jumps. You can schlep relatively well. So I think that as this capability is more obvious to everyone, that you are going to see more movement. But then again, these supercap convoys can also be interdicted in a much more. I mean, you can stop them. Like they're not going to. You can bubble them. You can cause them all sorts of issues to really slow them down if you know that they're coming. Do you know if Hero and Brave actually tried to put dictors out to try to slow?
Oh, there were bubbles. I know that PL was bubbled to high hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there was an attempt by the CFC to intercept Black Legion and either slow them down or stop them on their way down.
Mm-hmm.
But that was unsuccessful. So BL slowly trucked their way across and managed to make it there. I don't think with much incidents. So
that was a weird fight because, I mean, you had this really weird situation, politically speaking. So for the last few years, a lot of people have been trying to prove to Brave who is their best ally, right? So, like, NC has been sucking up to Brave for a long time. They have this sort of relationship with this FC called -93 who used to gank them. It's kind of the whole, people used to make, like, battered wife jokes about Test and Goonswarmer Test and PL, and it sort of reminds me of that, where NC would be farming Brave for content and then at the same time saying, like, guys, we're your allies. So for this fight, you had this weird situation where Darkness showed up to shoot Pandemic Legion. Darkness and NC are allies and neighbors in Delve and Quirius, respectively. Mm-hmm. NC shows up to try to rep PL. Darkness is shooting PL. Brave is shooting PL, and NC who are, their best allies or what have you, are repping. It's going to be a very interesting fight, not so much from just what all was killed, but I think from...
I think more, politically, like, who aligned with who is the more interesting of this, because, PL lost a super... Oh my god.
Yeah, they lost a Titan and some other stuff, like whatever.
And everyone lost things, and I'm pretty sure Brave lost some dreads, like a significant number of dreads as well. So, the losses are always interesting to look at, and it kind of shows you a little bit of who is, who kind of has more power when it comes to bigger fights like that.
Who's willing to throw down? I mean, this is...
Right, and this PL showed they were willing to just...
Oh, they always are.
They waited, and they baited, BL showed up, Brave dropped dreads, and PL was like, and it's time to escalate to Titans. Here you go, have fun, and now we're going to doomsday the field. And everyone was like, oh, right, oops. We should probably disengage, which feels kind of like, obviously I wasn't there, so I don't know if that was the general thought, but it was, Black Legion got there, Brave brought in Dreadnoughts, not too long after that, NC came in on the side of PL, PL just kept throwing Titans at the problem, and eventually BL and Brave had to make the decision to pull out.
Right.
So
that's an interesting situation with top-level escalation. Now, I think it was actually on the last show that we did, we were talking about how, I'm not sure it was the last show or the first show, we were talking about how Brave had previously shown a lot of initiative in trying to bait out a PL Titan and sacrificed a number of Dreadnoughts in an attempt to kill it. And now you're seeing that entity is still, instead of taking the wrong lesson from that first battle where they lost, they didn't say, oh, let's not do this again. They're still willing to aggressively throw around and go after PL. And this time they had much more success, which justified everything. I think that's a huge injection of confidence into that entity. And it's going to be really curious to see where they go from now. I
will always give props to Brave as the smaller. I'm sure that they know that they're the smaller when it comes to power. Maybe not in numbers. Definitely not in numbers. Brave, especially since that video came out, Brave's numbers have skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
So they've definitely got more numbers, and that can help to an extent. But obviously, when it comes to power and experience, PL is the better. But Brave is like, I don't really give a shit, and I'm just gonna fight PL. And I think that that's great that they're gonna do it anyway. And it adds a lot of content to the game, so I have to give Brave props for generating content at the very least. And for having the balls to fight PL straight up and engage them.
And engage and get a Titan kill. I mean, for an entity where you're mostly throwing around like Maulus fleets and things like that, you walk away with a Titan kill against what is generally considered to be one of the most powerful and successful supercap entities in the game. You're able to pull off a victory like that, This is actually kind of strategically and politically, this is one of the core balance issues between elite organizations and sort of meritocratic organizations, where Brave will recruit anyone and let everybody in. It doesn't matter how many skill points you have. Right. PL is the elite of the elite. They are in a conflict with Black Legion over the title of who gets to be calling themselves the most elite. But when you're fighting an elite entity, if you can show that you can make a god bleed, that's all you have to do. You don't actually have to kill them. You have to demonstrate that you can have successes, because their standard of success is so much higher than the standard of success for a meritocratic entity. So Brave can take that, they can take the fight, and no matter how much they lost, they can say it's a victory simply because they killed a PL Titan.
Right, and this is the second Titan that they've killed of PL a couple days ago. I guess actually it wasn't a couple days ago. I think it's on the 30th. It was a while. It was a couple days ago anyway that BL and Brave set up a catch for a PL super and managed to get an avatar.
It's actually one of the very interesting things to see BL sucking up to Brave to go against PL, because BL...
Is it really sucking up?
Well, I don't think it's sucking up so much as it is BL has been driven out of Venal. Like, they're still in Venal, and there's still some fighting with the CFC, but they realized that they couldn't win victories that were easy using their Slippery Pete doctrine. Lazarus Telraven has basically been chasing them around Venal for some time now. So now we're seeing them doing more and more ops and catch, because they're basically, they can, I think, make more of a difference than against the Northwestern CFC. That's my own personal theory. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm in charge of the CFC, and
Well, yeah, you're spinning for your
I'm spinning
benefit.
like a tornado. Yes, absolutely. But I mean, that's my take on it. I mean, it's a more interesting fight for Black Legion to try to contest the crown of elite PvP.
I think it. Yeah.
No, please go on.
I think it seems like it's a more interesting fight. I mean, all around, having PL and Brave fight each other, and it looks like it's. I mean, everyone seems to be having a hell of a time, and I think at this point, for PL and for Brave, that seems to be all that matters. Is they're just trying to generate content and have some fun. And it seems like everyone wants to jump on that. Let's have some fun and shoot stuff bandwagon. And you know what? I don't blame them. It does look like a lot of fun. Every fight, every article, every FC is always like, oh my god, that was the best fight. So much fun. I enjoyed myself so much. It was great. Let's do it again sometime. So
absolutely. And we haven't had enough of that. I mean, one of the things that's great about Phoebe is it allows these kind of localized conflicts without too much escalation. And with the success of the This Is Eve video, which is now at more than 1.5 million views on YouTube, we actually, CCP's marketing has finally found a way to actually sell this game to people and show them what, most of us see. It's an obvious point that most of what that video shows is PvP. Right. there's like 15 seconds of fitting a ship and trying to show the industry stuff. But it's mostly players dramatically murdering each other in spaceships. And the fact that Brave is there and is able to take all these people and immediately give them that content is, I think, lovely for the health of the game, which is something that we had been worried about for a while now. So this is just excellent.
And that's something we talked about on TMC Live. How likely is it that that CCP will retain these players? And with fights like this going on at least once a week, it seems much more likely, because there is a lot of stuff that video missed. Obviously, the hours that FCs pour into, thinking through engagements, the hours that spies and other various people are flying around space trying to find stuff to fight and catch and, set up these sorts of traps and stuff. Obviously, all that is missed.
Right.
And those are the kinds of things that newer players won't be as involved in.
Yeah, I mean, for the line members, what you see, like, you can, in fact, join up an organization and actually enjoy that kind of content on day one, be it Red versus Blue, be it Brave Newbies, be it pretty much any entity that will take newbies into nullsec or into a combat situation. You can get that from day one, which is something that, Goonswarm has been teaching people for years and years and years. That was always a huge advantage of us, is that, we were able to say, congratulations, you're in this game, you've been playing for it for an hour, and now you can make an impact and ruin someone's day.
Mm-hmm. So. And I mean, that's one thing everyone's been saying, both in chat and then as well as in the article, and everyone else that's talking about this fight. They give huge props to the small ships that Brave brought out. The frigates, the T1 and T2 frigates that people were bringing out. Those were the heroes of the day. So it goes to show that new players can make an impact, and they are important.
It's especially true when you're dealing with like E-War frigates. I mean, mass E-War. E-War is the ability of a newbie to take a veteran player and say, I don't care how many skill points you have, I'm going to make an impact on you and make an impact on the fight. It's one of the reasons why I remain concerned about the situation with super capital E-War immunity in general is something that has always bothered me. And I think that now one of the reasons why I'm happy to see Brave and PL going at it is when I say, with one of the largest super capital fleets in the game, when I say that there's an issue with the balance of these ships and the way in which they interact with subcaps, it's just blown off as spin. But now we have, one of the largest groups of newbies in the game mashing against this force of super capitals on a daily basis. And so now people are going to be able to find out for themselves the hard way some of the issues with that class of ships. So that'll be good, because then it won't be my fault for spinning. It'll just be the way it is. But
that's the hope.
Exactly. So yeah, let's. Should we talk about what's been happening in the Southwest Fountain, or should we talk about the situation with the Russians, or what do we?
Well, I think we could talk about NC kind of more in general here, because I mean, a couple days ago, NC lost 4 supers that were scouted out by Elite PvP CFC squad. I don't know what else to call them.
That's okay. We can talk about that. Yeah, so this has been a sort of a weird situation because since I was unavailable last week, we couldn't really give our viewers a mid-war update. The last show that we did, there was kind of a funny situation where there was a bored NC. Fleet led by -93 who had told all of his viewers to come here and, basically troll the chat. And so they spent a bunch of time talking smack at us as we were doing the show. And I said that, well, not much had really happened there. There had been some pokes and reinforcements at Y-2, which is a famous system on the border between Fountain and Delve. But then nothing really serious had come of it. Show ends, and in those next 2 weeks, we proceed to have actually a fairly significant little campaign between the CFC and NC. And their allies. And now that's over.
So, is it over now? Was it that quick?
Yeah, basically. So I think that the most significant piece of news about the NC. Situation actually has to do with their leadership. And this is something that just came out either today or yesterday. I was in transit, so I missed when the exact timing of this was. But Northern Coalition is led by Vince Draken. And Vince sent out an email saying that he wants to merge his corporation, Doom, into Burning Napalm, which is one of the other core corporations of NC. And that he didn't have enough time to be a good CEO. So his corp was going to be defunct, and he was going to be focusing more on leading his alliance. And from like a metagame watcher perspective, this is pretty significant because the distinction between running a corp and running an alliance when you're an autocrat is a false dichotomy. What you do as an autocrat, as a leader of an alliance and leading a corporation, your corporation, usually dovetails together nicely. So if you have time to lead the alliance, you also have time to lead your corp. So when you have a situation like this, it's kind of a weird thing. Vince has been gone for a while, so the micro campaign against the Southwest CFC that NC. Was leading the last 2 weeks was primarily led by Travis Muskrat and -93 working together. They're not the usual like alliance and coalition leaders, and notably, Travis and PL hate each other's guts. Travis
Right.
gets along with Black Legion, so there's some weird political stuff. Basically,
Yeah.
if Vince is off the table and isn't around, then he's like the stabilizing force of all the factions making that alliance together, and also he's the guy who understands all the grand strategy stuff. So that's kind of an interesting thing for people to keep their eyes on. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Vince might watch me talking about him on TV and then turn up tomorrow and then spend the next 3 months, personally leading a campaign to torch all of our territory.
But I mean, that's something they need to be careful of, and this is something we talked about a little bit before the show. I mean, Northern Associates, which obviously all their renters and NC dot space and whatever. I mean, it's large and it's under attack.
Yes.
Largely under attack, and for them to deploy fully, and I mean, this is something that there was 2 articles that came out about the 4 NC Titan or 4 NC Supers that had died, not Titans, sorry. And the CFC article had its spin, and the NC dot article had its spin. And in the opening statement, sort of that article, the author who's an
of the NC dot article, okay.
Right? The opening of the NC dot article, who is an NC pilot, someone in the NC dot, said the full deployment of NC dot left a large section of space hard for them to reach and hard to defend their civilian population. So it's very dangerous for NC to deploy, it seems, because they have so much space, and beelining it back to those supers. Their fleet arrived far too late and under-equipped. Not enough people were able to get there in time, so any chance they had at saving those supers was null. So, they're deploying. If they just make the choice to deploy and attack the southern CFC up in the mountain and whatnot, they leave their space vulnerable. And until they've consolidated, which just seems like it's going to happen whether they want it to or not, because space is slowly being taken, like you were saying, by Russians. So, is it really a good idea, do you think, for them right now to try and deploy, or should they wait a little bit, figure out what their space is going to look like after the Russians take some of it? Or are they going to try and fight the Russians and push them out? Because, I mean, deploying leaves their space vulnerable, and he came out and said it himself.
It's a mess. So, I mean, basically, the situation that we're seeing is the adjustment strategically of the Apex force-based empires, the CFC, NC dot, N3, and PL, to the new reality of the jump ranges and the fact that it's really hard to deploy away and hold your own territory. PL is able to go after Brave and Catch because they've pretty much given up all their territory. That's how they've adapted. The CFC has adapted by not deploying at all and just adopting a relatively purely defensive stance, with the exception of initiative being in curse and attacking into Northern Associates territory. But so basically what we saw from just a grand strategy situation, when Vince wandered away, Travis and Minus were left holding the keys to Daddy's car. And they proceeded to move from F20Y, which is a central location in Delve. Technically, it's Quarius. It's fake Quarius. Right by NPC Delve. And that's a natural base point for NC dot because it allows them to defend their assets in Quarius. I believe that NC dot has essentially written off and divested almost everything outside of Quarius period basis and their Delve territory. Right. But when they moved their supercarriers into M2 TAC, and then moved some of them into Y2 for this attempt at Y2 that they were making against the Southwest CFC the last couple weeks, they left almost all their territory in Quarius vulnerable. So what we did was we deployed our organization called the Reavers, which they will tell you don't exist, into Deep Quarius and started blowing up iHubs and generating timers. So this forced NC dot to start sending people back into Quarius in order to repair these timers that were created, that they couldn't stop the creation of because they had deployed so far away. So that is a real example of backfield pressure making a strategic impact. What was weird about the situation when the 4 NC dot supercarriers were dying is that they were killed, and yet I'm not sure, I still don't know what happened with this. I just got back into town from Manhattan yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to talk with all of my spies. But what strikes me as odd is NC dot's leadership, whoever was available during the head GP fight, was around and able to send reinforcements much further away into Catch to try to save PL than the reinforcements that they generated to save even their own super
Right.
carriers.
I think, and I'm not entirely sure, because there's a statement at the beginning of the article that states, that this situation is obviously very separate from the head tax stuff that was going on. But it seems like the stuff in Catch was being set up sort of as this, as these supers were caught.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a call to send stuff back south, or to send it to Catch, or to send it to Quirius. I think it's what it seems like. Obviously, I'm not sure if people are going to be like, "Oh, she's talking out of her ass. She doesn't know what she's talking about." Which, yes, is true. I don't know 100% what's happening, but that's what seems like the conflict is a little bit there. People can correct me if I'm wrong. Mittani will find out if that's the truth or not later.
Yeah, I'm busy taking a look at the chat channel, and it's kind of funny because apparently my Facebook was making dinging noises that people could hear on the stream. Sorry about that.
Oh. Yeah, I was wondering what people were talking about with that Facebook stuff.
So apparently people have been able to hear Streaming 101. Apparently people can hear my my Facebook. So it's just a weird situation. I mean, I think that the Reavers were underestimated. DBRB went down there, and he calls himself also the Truffle Pig. He truffles out super kills. And so the Reavers had set up these timers and sort of warn the NC Dot guys out for a couple of days with timers. They'd show up, they'd get blue-balled, no fight would happen. The numbers get fewer and fewer. Oh, we've got to go to Aquarius, this sucks. And then, once their numbers had been reduced and their morale was low, then suddenly 150 Ishtars or whatever pop out of a wormhole and, actually secure the kill. So that went pretty well. It's been a weird little front. I mean, we had serious coordination problems with the Southwest CFC. The last 10 days or so, there's a lot of work in general across the CFC to teach people to work together as allies, because Fountain has Fatal Ascension there, but they also have Lawn and Forged to Fire, and those guys just moved in together. Just before this front opened up and these pokes from NC Dot started happening. So there was definitely some difficulties in the first few days. Like, we shed fleets, we lost a whole pile of fleets, and that increased the level of aggression that was happening. It started out as a couple of pokes from NC Dot across the border. We shed some fleets. There were some stupid losses that invited more reinforcements, more pokes. And then once we actually got our act together and sort of punched them a few times in places where it hurted, then that dried up, right? Like, I expect me saying this on TV will provoke them like it did last time to making another go, but the last few days, that entire front has been relatively quiet. They tend to go dark after they lose supers, and I'm really curious to see how this all plays out with the Daddy's Not Home Vince situation. That's really something to keep an eye on from a strategic and political perspective.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm a little worried, and I hope in some ways that NC Dot kind of stops throwing in their lot with PL, mostly because if they keep doing that, whenever PL gets into a fight, it's just the power balance is going to keep shifting upwards. Yeah. I mean, and I don't want that to happen, because that'll make that whole area and Catch and those fights and that fun stuff that they're doing.
Oh, it will kill it, absolutely. Like, if NC Dot is constantly sending supers to go help buffer PLs, then there's essentially no hope for Brave to be able to do that, to do anything against that.
Right.
And that's why, typically speaking, PL and NC Dot have historically worked together, because if they help save each other's supers or what have you, they both maintain their balance of power as being on the top tier. So that's going to be an interesting thing to take a look at. On the other hand, because this will be seen as spinning, of course.
Oh, I'm ready for the spin zone. Let's
are you ready? Are we ready for the spin zone?
Ready for the spin zone.
Okay, here we go. We actually need like a Twitch overlay or something that I can click on that says
like
spin zone. Yeah, absolutely. Like have a vortex of like a tornado of spin that will flash out. I'll make a note of that. We'll do that hopefully for the next time. So the spin zone, the opposite of Bill O'Reilly's, is because NC Dot supers are deployed in M2 TAC, and they still haven't gone back to F2OY. If NC Dot is sending Territorial, and if they're sending reinforcement fleets and such to help PL against Brave, Brave has this border with Quirius, and Quirius is completely empty. So, I mean, if they actually wanted to punish NC Dot, they could do it very easily because they have a subcapital advantage, and it's very easy to put up SBUs and hit iHubs and stuff with subs. That's what we're doing with our Reavers. We mostly are making these reinforcements in Aquarius ourselves with Ishtars. So Brave is actually in a position where they could, at a strategic level, enact a reprisal against NC Dot to punish them for doing this sort of thing. That's just reading the soft map if they wanted to, but that is totally the spin zone.
Before we go on, though, you keep hitting your desk when you're talking.
Oh, really? Is it?
It's reverbing through your mic.
Oh my god. Okay, so I shouldn't do that. That's
it was something I noticed. It might be worse in the stream. I'm not sure.
That's amazing. So that's like so what we're saying is that I shouldn't act like Khrushchev and like sort of pound on the table at the UN Assembly.
Yeah,
get a shoe, right? That's what Khrushchev did. My bad.
Yeah, throw things at stuff when you're mad about it.
So go ahead and look at the. I'm not looking at birds at my window. What I'm looking at is I have my chat screen over here on a second set of monitors, and so I'm looking at the Twitch chat when I turn and give you the profile of my very large nose.
So now that we've had a few weeks with Phoebe, are you pleased so far? Like with the overall, like obviously things changed. People, like I said before, people were afraid of holding their cards to their chest and keeping their supers close to home. But that's not happening. There's a lot of local conflicts. So the local conflicts, are you kind of pleased with the state of things at the moment? Do you hope that they'll get worse, or are you good with the current situation?
In general, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, the thing that I didn't like the most about the way that EVE was going these days was, just all of this big empty renter space that was not really going anywhere, not providing any content. This actually, so short answer to the question is yes, I'm still happy with it. I think it's one of the best expansions we've had in a while. There are some criticisms you can make about the fact that many of the issues, a lot of times CCP will think that they have addressed an issue with one nerf, and in practice it actually hasn't been addressed, and then because they think they fixed it, many months later it doesn't get fixed because they don't devote any effort to fixing it. I'm still concerned about with the super carriers and the Apex Force situation. But this dovetails nicely into another thing we should probably talk about, which is basically what's happening with the rest of N3 and the fall, what appears to be the fall, slow but sure, of Scalding Pass, Wicked Creek, and now actually stations in Innsmother are getting lost to Red Alliance and that coalition. So that's 3 regions now of former Northern associates in N3 space that is just kind of sliding off the map into the dustbin.
I think that's going to be good for them, though. My personal opinion on that is that NC needed to lose some space. Defending that much with the state of nullsec at the moment, although possible, seems far too difficult, and not worth the trouble, I would think. I mean, obviously, I'm in no spot of leadership, so I really don't, obviously, my opinion doesn't matter. That's what people would have me believe anyway.
Right.
But, I mean, it's so much space, and it's renter space, and, maybe they should have pulled a little bit of that back before this. And I mean, obviously, you don't want to give space to Russians, because, but I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. Obviously, you don't want to give up space because you just don't, because it's your space. But, I'm worried for them, I guess, if they keep trying to defend both sides.
I think we call this a concern troll, right? I don't think you're actually worried about their safety.
I'm a little concerned just because, say what people want about N3. They're cool, they're fine, and I like every alliance, so to speak, in their iterations at the moment.
It's kind of a weird situation. So, I mean, at this point, NC Dot is almost entirely separate from N3, except for Darkness and Kadeshi, which have a footprint in Delve. The remnants of N3 is like Noli Secunda, Gentleman's Club, some Kadeshi, I guess. And those guys, last time I checked, there's basically 2 separate fronts in the Russian versus N3 territory in the east. In the sort of Middle East territory around Catch, you have this new Russian coalition, which now actually has Solar as a part of it, It includes Gorgon Empire, Dream Fleet, Gorgon Empire, Dream Fleet, Red Alliance. Solar Fleet is now helping them, and then there's a couple of other smaller ones in there. And for the sake of ease, I refer to these guys as the Curse Russians. That's where they're basing out of. Also, you have the Initiative from the CFC is there too. And these guys are all on a very regular and aggressive basis working to sort of take these regions out. And they're not really being defended. I think that there are the occasional form-ups to try to save these stations. But once you're already losing stations on a regular basis in those territories, it's pretty clear that those regions are just getting written off. And then there's the Stain Russians, which are Coven and the old Darkness of Despair guys. And that's kind of a mess. Like, they haven't really developed enough of a U.S. time zone. So there was initial attacks on Esoteria and Amist, and then In3 timed those for U.S. time zone. And they haven't really made too much progress since the last time I checked. I haven't been hearing any sort of good news out of there in a while. In3's Nulli Secunda's base is still an impasse in 68 FT, which is sort of a central location to allow them to try to defend MNC and Amist and that territory. But I think that without the NC Dot or PL supercapitals on their side, it's only a matter of time until those guys wear out and you start seeing those regions get lost. But actually, probably the biggest single bit of news is that Solar Fleet has thrown in with that group of Curse Russians and is now making active strikes against Geminate, with which is held by Legion of Death, XIX, and their allies, which are the TA, which is the version, sort of the reboot of White Noise from way back in the day. So they have some territory up in the drone regions. They're working with Legion of Death to defend it, and now you're seeing Maktep, and Solar Fleet actively going after BWF CZ, which is like the core form-up territory in Geminate. So there's basically like the Russians are taking out all this empty territory that's not being defended, Wicked Creek, Innsmother, and Scalding Pass, and now they're kind of moving on into full-blown like classic old school Solar Fleet versus Legion of Death Russian Civil War territory, which is usually ew. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to keep seeing how that's working out and, like, wait, I guess, and see what NC Dot and N3 decide to do about all this. So.
Yeah, it's going to be curious. I mean, it's one of those things where we can hope for a lot of action there, but because of the language barrier involved, it's actually very difficult to keep track of. One, I mean, we have Russians, we have Russian diplomats, we have Russian speakers. But two, usually people don't like to get in the middle of Russian fights because they have their own time zone, and nobody wins, right? Like, if you get involved in a fight between two organizations of Russians, there's very little to be gained and an awful lot of enemies who will hound you for the rest of your life. That's just unwise. So, I don't know, that's going to be kind of curious. Let's see. I keep looking to see what's going on in our chat over here. And
you need to pull it up so that you're not having to turn all the time.
So they don't have to turn all the time. I have all this lovely other monitor over here. And,
yeah.
That's going to be interesting. So we've been doing this for, I think, about an hour now, and it's probably time.
Yeah.
Have we covered everything that we were going to be covering? We talked about NC Dot, and we talked about...
Yeah, we've talked about pretty much all the happenings since Thanksgiving, which have been
busy.
A lot.
It has been very busy.
You went away and space blew up. This is what happens when you leave.
Always that way. Like, I get in a place where I can't easily get at my desktop, and then suddenly... but there you go.
Shit goes crazy. So guys, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them in chat. Probably do this for about 5-10 minutes. I don't know if we're doing giveaways today.
We can do giveaways. Do you have the setup ready to do giveaways?
I can.
You can. Okay.
I just gotta click some buttons here. Hold on, let me.
What would you guys like us to give away? We gave away some ships last time in addition to some Plex, because I thought that Plex were just going to be kind of boring after a while.
Right.
Somebody's named Zelthrak is desperate for me to notice him. I noticed you. Congratulations, Zelthrak. I've noticed you. I hope you feel special.
He's been asking that for a while.
My.
Yeah, I don't know.
It looks like people are mostly interested in either PAPS
How do you feel about the new T3 destroyers? Have you had a chance to look at the specs of the ship and everything like that? Have you had a chance to really look at it because you've been away for the last week?
No, I've been paying attention to that. I mean, the difficulty that I have when I travel is that I'm still connected with Jabber and Skype and what have you, but I just don't have like the ease of a desktop where I can have like 40 Jabber channels open it at one time. I'm limited to more like 5 or 6. But the Confessor is an interesting ship. I like the fact that it's got such a curious design to it. I've been waiting for my fittings team to sort of get back to me to see whether it's anything that can actually be used at a doctrinal level. I mean, the things that are good in solo PvP or small gang PvP are often useless at a coalition level. I think it's a really neat concept. Players love destroyers. I'd like to see a balance pass done on some of the earlier, like the newer destroyers that were added, the T1 types, like, I think that the Dragoon and the Algos and the Korax could all use a lot of love compared to the Talwar. We'll just have to see whether the Confessor makes it into a proper fleet. I'm really curious to see what the rest of the ships are. And already from the EFT hacks that have been done, the Confessor is apparently really good for at least small gang stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm trying to catch questions here. Kalals asks, how do you see the Kadeshi and Darkness and Delve? Is that going to be a threat for the CFC in the long term?
No.
Done.
I mean, the threat with the threat with any of the stuff that's been happening with the Southwest CFC is been NC Dot moving their supers. If Vince is around and he's engaged and he's active and he's leading them well, that is a serious threat. But if he wants to make a push on Fountain, that means that he, by definition, has to seed Quarius and period basis, because all of those become vulnerable. So, this is Phoebe. Like, if you want to hold territory, if you want to hold moons, you have to park a super cap and capital fleet in the middle of whatever you're holding to defend. You can't have your invasion and keep all of your crap in your backfield without consequence. I'm not really concerned about Darkness or Kadeshi. I don't feel like there's any real, they can't take Fountain any more than we could take Delph, right? Like, we don't have the people to do it. So most of what has happened here in the last 2 weeks has been an opportunity for the Southwest CFC to gel, learn how to work together, for us to faceplant, kill some of our own titans, make stupid mistakes, which is always, it's a valuable learning experience that happens at the start of any campaign. But I think a lot of people just haven't adjusted to the reality of Phoebe at a strategic level, where if you want to hold space, you have to guard it, and you can't have your cake, you can't have your invasion and eat your moons too anymore. So that's why
I get to have my cake eat it too, but I think I'm the only person on the planet that gets to do that.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
You're the only one.
I'm pretty sure I've told you this before. But I'm not going to say it to the chat, because if they find out, they're going to literally lose their shits. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, we're being mysterious.
Your QT asks, who do you consider the CFC's most mortal enemy that is still active today?
Well, we don't really have any, actually.
I guess once Bob was gone, that was it, huh?
That's kind of the difficulty. So, like, one of the problems that we have is at an institutional level, we spent so much time feeling like we were under existential threat that we really adopted a fortress mentality. So, like, the CFC and Goonswarm is kind of like Taiwan or Israel, in that we've always been under the gun. We expect everybody to try to kill us, and we over-prepare as a result, and we overreact whenever we're attacked by anyone, really catastrophically. But then, at some point, our newbies who used to be in Rifters are now flying Titans, and we're kind of, like, looking around going, okay, I mean, we're still vulnerable. We can still screw things up. There's not really anybody who is gunning for us in the same sort of emotional, hate-filled way that characterized the Great War. So, Incidot is a threat. If PL comes after us, that's a threat. But there's none of the old Hell Wars are really active anymore. I mean, there's been so much diplomacy and negotiation, I think, that many of the people who have been in charge of NullSec for so long, we all know each other. We might be shooting each other, but there's a degree of communication and diplomacy, and I wouldn't call it friendship, but, Jabberlon 5 is kind of like a stereotypical, like, good old boys club. And, that's good from one perspective, because there's no wars of extermination, but on the other hand, it does kind of take some of the, the grand drama out of it. So sort of long answer to a simpler question.
Right. So this is probably going to be, there's actually 2 questions, but Laz is in the channel, and he should be able to answer this. People keep asking how wonderful and beautiful his beard actually is. So Laz, if you're listening, you should answer the fans. They want to know. Your fans need to know, Laz. But Smith S. asks, do you think Brave will hold catch in a month?
Do I think Brave will hold catch in a month? Yes, because I don't think that PL is actually trying to take catch. I think that they're trying to provoke fights. I mean, nobody really wants catch. It's not a very good region, with the exception of AAA. There are more optimal regions. For example, again, Spin Zone. Ooh, here we go, Spin Zone. Quarius is much more valuable. There's like 65 R64s in Quarius. It's tighter. It's more compact. It's closer to Empire. It's just, so nobody really wants catch. So I don't think the PL is going to take it, and I don't really think that they're at risk. I think they will be at risk if they stop fighting, right? Like, it's one of those classic situations of, if Brave stops resisting against PL and says we're going to blue ball PL and we're not going to do anything, then it's entirely possible that PL will, out of retribution, punish them by taking all that territory because they didn't fight. But that's not really a problem. And Brave just got a Titan kill and did a whole bunch of other good things, and I think they're going to keep fleeting up and keep going after these guys. So I don't see catch being at any real risk unless all the Brave guys just give up and roll over.
Do you think Russians might come and try and take it over? Or even they're not even interested?
Well, the people...
I mean, they're kind of far away, but they could move into it.
The Stain Russians could make a play for it, but I don't think that they would, because if they can't even manage to take mostly undefended Esoteria or Amist because of a U.S. time zone, I mean, when you run into a problem in this game, you overcome the problem. If you are encountering issues because you don't have anyone to be able to deal with U.S. time zone timers, you don't give up and slink back to NPC space and say, oh, well, I don't have any U.S. time zone, so I give up. What you do is you recruit U.S. time zone corps, you recruit U.S. time zone allies, you find a way to get it done. The difficulty, the contrast between the Curse Russ and the Stain Russ has been really alarming to me to see. And the people who would be hypothetically going after catch are mostly ex-AAA guys. So I don't consider them to be nearly the threat that PL would be. Especially, they've already said, if you just time it to U.S. time zone, then they're not going to do anything. So there you go. I think Brave is in a pretty secure position all the way around.
I do too. It doesn't look like anyone in the immediate surrounding area is either looking to take space or specifically their space.
Yeah,
PL doesn't want their space for sure. The Russians have their hands tied at the moment. So yeah, I don't think Brave is in any immediate danger. We'll see maybe how that changes over time, but I think they're fine for at least the next probably 3 or 4 months.
I mean, somebody, the thing about Phoebe, what it comes down to, and it's such a total game changer for Eve, is that people need to want your space, right? If somebody wants to take your space, they're going to have to live in it and stay there. So the absent renter empires are vanishing. A lot of things are changing, and I don't think that anybody who could actually beat Brave wants catch. People who could want catch for whatever reason just don't have the skill or the ability to be able to do it. Let's go ahead and take a look.
That seems like most of the important questions. All the other ones are like.
All right, so what do people want us to give away? Do they want plaques?
Fountain, apparently.
They want us to give away Fountain. Well, you have to take Fountain yourself. I mean, you can't. NC Tried to take it and they failed. Laz spent basically between the Reavers deploying to Aquarius. That was kind of a funny thing. Like, Laz went down to Fountain to FC for like 2 days. There's like 3 battles, and then that was it. It was over. They just kind of gave up, and then they lost 4 supers to DVRB. This is not me even spinning. This is just how we talk amongst just us chickens. And at this level, is basically Laz went over there, stomped them, and that was that. I'm looking over here.
There's a lot of Archons. People want Archons.
People want Archons. Archons are harder to give away because we can't easily contract them from Jita.
Yeah.
They want.
Here you go. Have your Archon.
Oh my.
Sitting in space.
Yeah. Here you go. Would I shave my goat beard for charity? So this is a problem, right? Like, in general, this is a problem, and it's a problem on a number of levels. it looks ridiculous, right? My facial hair is awful. This is known, right? There's no real way around it. The problem is I'm 36 years old, right? I'm 36 years old. I get carded on a daily basis whenever I try to buy alcohol. And if I get rid of this,
then it's worse.
Then I look like I'm 14, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to be like a vampire and live until your mid-90s. My family are very, very long-lived. And, at least I don't sparkle in sunlight. But,
if you did, I'd have to stay.
I should do it. I mean, actually, that sounds like a good idea. If we had like a charity drive or something, we could do a giveaway, kind of like what Mark Scaris did for Veterans Day. Is we could have a thing where we could, if we get to a certain donation level for charity, just shave this thing off and look ridiculous
stream.
On live stream. Absolutely,
yes,
I can do that
and cry as you do it.
Cry. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, I don't have enough proper testosterone really to be able to really grow in a beard. It doesn't really come
me
in.
neither. It's a struggle. I don't have the testosterone to grow
a beard.
It's really frustrating.
Are we both envious of Laz? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Laz apparently has the beard that everybody loves because he is actually a manly man, unlike me with this sort of thing.
So someone said a Navy APOC and someone said a Black Ops battleship as ideas for giveaways.
How about let's do somebody wants a sin. Well, we're big fans of sins here. So let's do a Navy APOC, a sin, and then we'll do Tuplex. Now, please follow us and subscribe if you'd like to support us. I believe that there is a slight bonus for subscribers when we do a giveaway. I think it's something
just a little bit. Let me get rid of admins for being able to enter.
There is a...
Let's not have it so that moderators can enter.
So one of these days, we're going to get a producer who is going to be helping us with all these technical things and give me more time to set up a proper background and not have my face be... See, I think if I actually turn this monitor off... Oh, look, the lighting gets better. You can still see shiny stuff on my forehead.
And I'm so white that I'm like radiating my own light source.
You're like an ice elf. Like you are literally reflective, like the moon.
Sorry, guys.
So... our hope is that as this gets a little bit more serious, as we learn our way around the process of doing a talk show, we'll have a spin zone overlay. I want to get that. That sounds good.
As time goes on, we'll get cool features. Hopefully, we can get a spin zone emote into the chat. That would be fantastic. I would love for some spin zone spam as we start talking about
the spin zone.
So that's actually going to be our word. One word, spin zone. Don't put a space. One word. That's going to be the word. We're going to do the Navy APOC first. So if you want to win a Navy APOC, type in spin zone as one word in chat, and it will enter you, and we'll roll that in a minute or two. As we read the spam that will eventually come into chat.
Somebody asked, I saw earlier, whether I was going to run for the CSM, and the answer is no. Unpaid volunteer consultancies are no longer of very much interest to me. I get to answer that every time CSM election comes up. And
I can't see you wanting to do that. You've got, for for spaceships, you've got a lot going on.
Well, it's tough because the CSM is usually an investment of what the newbie CSM people rarely realize when they get onto it is it can be like 4 hours a day of investment, and you can spend a lot of time. The more time you put into it, trying to influence and sway. What we discovered in CSM6 is that most of what happens only gets listened to if there's media force behind it, right? Like you can't really engage unless you have a lever of the media, and we already have the media, so why bother? And you don't get paid for it, and a lot of times you get ignored, and you have to deal with people who are idiots, and you have to be nice with them. Now it's not, the CSM is getting even nicer now that they have this sensitivity training crap. Back in the day, CSM was red in tooth and claw. We were cutting each other and doing whatever in order to achieve our objectives. And now you can't even say mean things to one another. Otherwise, somebody's going to get their poor little thin skin. Their feelings are going to be hurt.
They'll need a tampon for their vagina.
Absolutely, it'll be bad. All right.
So we're getting up to 300. People are re-entering now. It hasn't gone up much past this in a while, so people are retyping in, which means
that's fine. Let's go ahead and run it.
I'm gonna go ahead and roll. So this is for the Navy APOC.
All right.
Luncreotic. You have won a Navy APOC. I'm gonna write Luncroatic. I'm bad at pronouncing things. So you won a Navy APOC. Congratulations.
Go ahead and make sure that you send us a email on Twitch, a private message on Twitch, such that we can see that, and we'll give that to you.
So we're gonna roll. Next will be for the sin.
So we're gonna have to have a different.
We're gonna have a different keyword.
Okay, I see how this works.
What's the keyword going to be? Hold on, let me figure out what keyword I want. 07 is gonna be your keyword.
Is that going to be a 07 and 07?
Yeah. 07. Like
dear.
This, guys. 07. Traditional 07. That is your
07.
keyword.
Okay, this is the infernal brave influence coming here.
For the sin. Yeah. If you want to win the sin, it's 07.
If you do want me, if you want someone like me on the CSM again, but you can't have me because I play hard to get, generally speaking, a safe vote is for either Scion Kumitomo or Indy, who are running this go-round. They are the Goonswarm representatives, and they are willing, I don't know why, but they are willing to put in the time and effort to interface directly with CCP in the way that I am no longer willing to do. And they tend to have views that are, in line with mine. I think they're both excellent advocates. All the way around. It should be a good team. I mean, Scion is my chief of staff. Indy has been my left-hand man for many, many years. They're not naive people, which is a real problem. Okay, we have a lot of 07s here. That was an additional spin. I didn't mean to go into like electoral pitch mode, but I realized while complaining about how I wasn't going to do it on the one hand, I should probably also say, here's an alternative that you can avail yourself of.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and roll, guys. Shotman64.
Shotman64, congratulations.
Congrats. I'm making sure I write down the names so that if we
That's good. So if somebody sends us a message saying that I won this, we'll know that it wasn't actually who it was.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 plexes now. What keyword should we use for this? You should come up with a keyword, because I'm really bad at it.
I'm going to have a keyword. Okay, well, I really feel remiss here. I feel like I should have been spinning harder, right? I don't think like I've done a good enough job. So why don't we have our keyword be Indie, E-N-D-I-E. That way we'll, if you want to win a plex, you can go ahead.
E-N-D-I-E is your keyword. Wait,
so type Indie if you want to have a chance at winning plex.
Chat.
E-N-D-I-E.
That's E-N-D-I-E. No, stop putting admins into the pool.
There we go.
Twitch chat giveaways, please.
You can watch and wait and see how long it takes to do all of this stuff, because suddenly we'll say amongst ourselves, add Indie or what have you as your name, and then it waits like a minute, then all of a sudden the entire screen fills up. So Indie for a plex, looks like everybody's got it.
Everyone's figuring it out. So how was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was excellent. We didn't do anything at all, which is my favorite thing. Because
those are my favorite kinds of vacations.
Yeah, my family and I are not really big on the whole traditional Thanksgiving thing. So what I ended up doing was traveling to Manhattan to visit my father the day after Thanksgiving, which was an amazing flight. Nobody was traveling. O'Hare was completely empty. We had an airplane which like half of the airplane was empty.
That's fantastic.
It was amazing. My wife and I had a grand old time because, normally flying in one of those shoe boxes is a nightmare.
Especially out of O'Hare.
Yeah, exactly. Going from O'Hare to JFK,
literally a nightmare.
No one there. So that was good. And then, got to dink around Manhattan for a while, see a bunch of my old friends. We just got back yesterday evening and sort of getting settled in. How many indies do we have? Where are we on the...
Quite a bit. We're at 260. I haven't had any more entries, so someone said we should do a countdown. So count down. You got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Peter _lagman. Petter? P-E-T-R. It's not really Peter, but I think that's the idea. Petter Lagman.
I think that's like a Danish way
congratulations.
of saying Peter. I know some.
Oh, maybe. I don't know that kind.
AR or something like that.
Well, you've won a Plex, so congratulations.
Right.
So you've got one more Plex on
one more Plex, okay. Well, since we need to be fair, and I need to spin more because, actually, one of these days, we need to do the show where, like, I just straight up Stephen Colbert it and just do all of the spin propaganda, like, as if the stereotype of me was true, right? And just completely ham it up.
Well, that's the goal of this show.
Okay.
Is to just spin zone it up and to acknowledge that we are spinning and to own up to it.
So, in the vein of proper spinning, since we already did indie, it'll be fair. The next keyword, let's have it be Scion, S-I-O-N.
For those of you that don't know how to spell it, let me put it in before you start spamming it. For those of you who don't know how
to spell, even after we tell you on live stream exactly how to spell, this will be for our last Plex.
Okay. Coming from Test Alliance, where you have to issue a command 40 separate times before everyone knows what's going on. And I know that this isn't just exclusive to Test. I know it happens in every alliance. Sometimes it takes people a minute to catch on.
It's amazing.
It can be a little frustrating sometimes.
Oh my, well that's good. We had a good reaction. We went on, we managed to go for an hour and 15 minutes without running out of EVE news to talk about. I'm pretty pleased with that. Hopefully we can figure out a way to get our microphones working properly next time we do this, and hopefully I can learn to not pound on the desk over and over again, exactly, like Khrushchev.
Yeah, I think it's because your mic sits right on your desk.
Yeah, that's where it is.
More than it otherwise might. Yeah, that was really loud. That hurt my ears.
Excellent. Okay.
So we're only at 240, so
people don't really want the Plex, or they don't really like Scion.
People don't want them, which is funny because the last Plex actually had the most of anybody.
The most people putting it in. Well, apparently Indie is more popular than Scion. That's an interesting thing. So, actually, the idea of the parody show, the alternate reality version of the show, where instead of giving you what I actually think about politics and instead spinning, I'm getting a suggestion to call it the Martini Show.
That's exactly what either Le Martini or the Martini,
Go into Martini mode, and I'll hoist a martini up, and then just start talking about how all of our enemies are idiots and we never get anything wrong. It'll be like a Eve Kim Jong-il propaganda.
You'll have to go back, though, on your statements of the Titan that you guys...
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, that never happened. Never happened. It was absolutely a traitor the entire time, and we never make mistakes. The GIA knows better. Trust in your leadership. Blessed is the mind too small for doubt.
You need to start making this real propaganda in the CFC and have someone start making
actual Kim Jong-il style. Yeah. Dear leader, letters from dear leader.
Okay, guys, right. I'm gonna go ahead and roll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sladee is our last winner for our last Plex. SLDEE is his name. So congratulations to all of you. I'll read out the names again so that if you guys weren't paying attention for some awful reason. So the Navy Epochs goes to Lunacrotic. The Sin goes to Shotman64. And Petter Logman, because I don't know if it's actually supposed to be Peter, so I'm going to pronounce it literally. And Sladee, you guys have won Plex. So congratulations to all 4 of you. Make sure you send us a message on Twitch with the character you'd like this stuff given away to, and we'll make sure to get it to you hopefully within 24 hours. If we're a little slow, I apologize, because we're jerks.
Yeah, last time actually we had a delay in doing the giveaways for about 24 hours because when people were sending us messages, they were getting sucked into the other messages / spam folder on Twitch rather than your Twitch inbox. So we went looking there, we found everybody. It was funny, we gave a Plex to a guy from Northern Coalition who won one of the things while he was trolling us in Catch.
That's fantastic.
And he was, talking I don't think I'm actually going to get this, but if you do, here's my character. I'm like, here's a Plex, whatever, we don't care. Yeah. Whether you're an enemy or not, if you win on the meta show, you win. We
want you to stay subscribed and keep fighting us.
Absolutely.
And by us, I mean Mittani because I'm not in the CFC. I don't know why I said us.
It's easy to throw me in front of the bus. I see how it is.
I'm not in the CSC. I'm not even subscribed at the moment, which everyone hates, by the way. They're like, you're not even subscribed. Why are you even talking about Eve? You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like,
I go for fairly long periods of having most of my characters unsubscribed, and I can talk about Eve all the time. So, there you go. All right, boys and girls. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Follow us, subscribe to our channel if you would like to support us. We will be back next Saturday. I will actually be broadcasting from San Diego, California. So that'll be entertaining. It'll be again same time, same Eve time, same Saturday, and hopefully we'll have less excitement with our microphones next time.
Hopefully, we'll be better at this as every week goes on. Hopefully, it's
incremental, small improvements. So, all right, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.